welcome to another podcast by Guns and Yellow Ribbons. This is your Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans, for Arsenal fans. Enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Guns and Yellow Ribbons. It's Fergus, but I'm not hosting this one. This is the preview show. Jonny invites some of his guests. On this one he's got Crayola Man, Dan and Big Steve. Enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, the preview show. I am Jonny from the North Bank, and today I am joined by Dan, the Crayon Man, and Steve, Big Steve. I'd like to welcome you to this podcast. It is a podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans.
Thank you very much.
As our tagline suggests, we are all Arsenal fans, and we do have our opinions, which we will convey over the next 30 minutes. All right, Dan, welcome. Is it third podcast?
Yeah, third. So first on the preview show, but we've done two with Fergus, and looking forward to the next 30 minutes with both of you. I think. Yeah. I don't think I've been on one with Steve yet, so it's going to be good.
No, this is the first time we've met over the interwebs. So
looking forward to it.
Let me digitally introduce you to. Welcome, Steve. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, good to be back, man. Good to be back.
Yeah. Now, I'd just like to point out that we're recording this on Friday evening, about 7:30. So any team updates between now and kick-off, obviously we missed them. So straight into it, team news. The best thing I've read in a little while is Rob Holding is ready to play.
Yes.
Are we excited about the inclusion of Rob Holding against, let's say, they are the bottom team of the league, but a lesser opposition?
Absolutely, yeah. Much needed return, for me, in regards to Holding. Absolutely superb before, he got injured at United and over by the touchline with Rashford. So, delighted that he's back, and he'll definitely be pushing. I think Sunday's game will be maybe just slightly too far for him, but it'll be back definitely in the next few weeks. Might try and easing him at the Forest game in the Carling Cup. I would imagine.
I think that's most likely. Steve, do you think that the next game against Forest, and then we've obviously got a couple of games after that, they're more likely for us to be seeing these players coming back, including Bellerin and Tierney, who are in full training now, which is even better. So hopefully we'll be seeing them in the Europa League blooding in. What do you see, Steve, in coming into this game against Watford? Do you think we're going to miss Lacazette?
Against Watford, I mean, Lacazette's a vital player. I think any game that he's not playing, we're going to miss him. However, depending on how he's set up, and if it means pushing Aubameyang to the front, I don't think we'll miss Lacazette too much, simply because Watford's defence are big lumps. They're not a pacey team, so if we can get Aubameyang, Pepe, Nelson, if he comes in running in behind, then I think we'll be fine. The only thing is we need that. I'm hoping Ceballos plays and puts the balls through. If we don't play a system that suits the opposition, then we'll miss Lacazette more than if we don't.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I've always tried to highlight Lacazette's other qualities than just putting the ball in the net. His hold-up play
is phenomenal. Brilliant. Considering his size.
Exactly. I mean, one of the underrated qualities of Giroud was his hold-up play. He was the best player in the league with his back to goal, holding up the ball.
100%.
And Lacazette has got a similar skill set. Well, I'll tell you what, Dan, I don't know if you agree with me, but one player we will not be missing against Watford, because we're expecting him not to play, is Xhaka, because he's got an Achilles injury. If Xhaka is missing, as we expect, who do you think is going to come to sit in front of the back four?
I think Torreira. I think Torreira will be in on Sunday to replace Xhaka. You might see Gundazi as well next to him, and yeah, again I said that posh like I did on the other
Yeah,
podcast, but yeah, I would imagine them two will hold,
yeah,
and then there'll be a front four in front of them, just um, yeah, three behind Aubameyang now that Lacazette's injured.
yeah. Personally, as per the agenda, um, I think we'll probably see Willock start in celebration of his new long-term deal, which I'm very, very happy about. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, well deserved. I
Yeah,
think.
very much well deserved. He only got his last deal in 2017, so this is definitely a reward for his hard work in the summer and his earliest part of the season.
And
So it's
and
good.
yeah, and
incredible,
last
right?
season as well. I think
Yeah.
last season as well, coming off the bench, playing
Exactly. Coming
playing
in
a
the
part
final,
within the squad. Yeah, exactly.
it made a difference in the final.
He
It
looked
was
really
fantastic.
good when he come on.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that was a sign for our Arsenal fans to think, wow, going into next season, he could be a real plus, and he started off the season well. That's
yeah,
for sure.
exactly. Were you saying, Dan? You were saying about Torreira, but from what I've read, he's come back from the Uruguay duty with a slight knock.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I think with him not really having a pre-season and not really having a rest, and obviously in Italy he was used to having the winter break, I think it will be a good chance that he will probably miss out.
Okay, yeah. I did see he potentially had a slight injury, but he's definitely. I think he's in the squad. I never too know, when they come back whether or not they're 100% fit. But yeah, look, I think against the Spurs game, I think he come on, didn't he? And he kind of signalled to the bench as if, I'm ready, I'm back. And um, I think I think he needs to play. I think we miss him, especially away from home, digging in. And if he is fit and hopefully he can shake off the knock, I would definitely start him for sure.
Yeah, I think he can probably make the difference, especially with their centre midfield. They've got Decore in the middle there, so we're going to
player,
need someone.
yeah.
He drives forward, so we're going to need someone with the intelligence to make those tackles and intercept the ball and see him off. I think Guendouzi can do that very, very well as well. That's why I'm thinking Willock and Guendouzi is probably the ideal in the middle there. Obviously, we were talking about Torreira being injured. Another player that's injured, which is who technically is on the books, and we've cunningly listed him in our Premier League squad. So he is the young Saliba. He has been at London Colney this week as part of his rehab for a groin injury. Seeing as he's one of our players, it's fantastic to see some of the photo ops of him at London Colney sporting a number 17 shirt. But I think, Steve, you were saying that it's most likely that he's just picked up the spare kit thrown to the ground by the Walthamstow Wanderer.
Yeah, I think I mean when in the past when you've seen like Perez has come back for training or Henri's been training with us, normally if players come in, and I think Flamini came back to us for I think last year and was training with us, and they just tend to pick up whatever spare numbers going. I think I mean he might well be jumping into the number 17 shirt when he comes back full time next year, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him, take up a new number if we don't strengthen in the centre back role, especially now Koscielny and Elneny have vacated the 6 and the 4.
I think you're right. I think he's most likely gonna be taking up a different number. I mean, as a club, traditionally we do give certain numbers to certain players, and usually the player that has the number 15 shirt is usually a midfield player we have anointed with great promise. Danielson didn't quite live up to it, but before that you had Fabregas had it, and so on.
Ox
So
had 15,
the Ox had
didn't he?
it, and he was one of the players that again was anointed with having such great promise.
And now we got Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who again,
Exactly.
great promise. Yeah, I didn't know that about the 15.
Just something I'd noticed, and it's the same with a couple of other numbers, like the number 23 shirt as well,
and 17 even,
and the 17 shirt indeed. One thing, funny you mentioned Maitland-Niles. Obviously, we're expecting him to play at right back this week, but in the coming weeks, we're expecting Bellerin to come back in and slot back into his place. It's nice to see that obviously he's going to be given he's going to be pushed for the place by Maitland-Niles, and also potentially Tierney, who can quite comfortably play at right back. One article I was reading recently was saying our likely lineup in the 24-25 season will probably see AMN in an advanced role, and it got me thinking that once Bellerin comes back, if you was going to rotate, say if you're going to have Pepe up front alongside Aubameyang or Lacazette or someone, you could
24-25.
No, I'm talking about this season.
Oh, I was going to say.
Once Bellerin comes back, you could actually see Maitland-Niles playing on that right side of midfield.
Possibly.
Mainly because he has obviously going to have a greater appreciation for having someone track back. Mm-hmm. And he might actually do it, which would be fantastic. And being able to interchange with Bellerin is an exciting prospect in my mind.
I think, yeah, I agree with you there. But also, if we are tinkering like we have seen a couple of times with a midfield three, if he does play in that midfield three and plays on the right hand side or the left hand side, then he's in a position, if we've got someone like Torreira that will sit in front of the four, then having a midfielder that can drive the ball forward but also track back and play in that area between the fullback and the centre back, should Bellerin bum forward, I think having him in a midfield three is quite because of his time at right back, I think is also a good option to have.
Yeah, definitely hold him in good stead in the future. Mr. Crayon, Mr. Crayola, Dan.
Do you know the story? You know the story behind this, Steve, and I guess
we haven't got time
because
for
of Harry
that
Kane,
shit.
wasn't it?
Yeah. We'll leave that there.
I think I was the one that pointed it out, actually.
Anybody who's unsure about the story, please look at our back catalogue of when Dan came on to our main podcast.
Absolutely.
It's all there to be downloaded on all the platforms.
Yeah.
So, Dan, looking ahead at the Watford game, of course, as that's what we're here for, the likely formation and lineups, we've kind of hinted at a few different positions. What would be your lineup and formation going into this game?
Yeah, so lineup, Leno in goal, Maitland-Niles, Socrates, Luiz, Kolasinac, Torreira, and Guendouzi, and then Pepe, Nelson, Aubameyang, and then I think Salibos just feeding and being in the number 10.
Can I just butt in? I think we've finally found someone worse than Fergus with names.
No, not worse.
It's my posh accent.
Salibos and Guendouzi.
I try and pronounce them as if within their nationality, and it comes all wrong. So I'm trying to be too clever for my own good here, but
it sounds it, yeah.
Yeah, but I think you'll probably see that, and actually, the Lacazette Aubameyang scenario is interesting. When they both start, because Aubameyang for me is not a winger, so away from home we've been fairly poor, and we definitely need balance, definitely more away from home. Steve,
in terms of selection and lineup, where do you see things running against Watford?
I think like we've mentioned, I think Nelson will come in. I think Ceballos will play behind Aubameyang, Pepe either side, but I think expect Pepe, Orba and Nelson all to interchange. I do think Torreira will have a rest. Kolasinac is going to line up at left back. Unfortunately, I do think it's going to be Socrates and Luiz, although I still think that we need to be give Chambers another shot. He had a very, very good game at Newcastle. Luiz has had a couple of weeks where he's, produced a couple of blunders. Give Chambers a run out. Give Chambers a run out, 100%.
Yeah, I agree with you. Chambers could do well in this particular fixture. You do make a good point.
And Chambers is good in the air.
Game.
Chambers is good in the air, I feel. So.
And they've got some big lumps.
Exactly.
They can come up and give us a bit of worry. But for that same reason, I have gone for a 4-2-3-1 and having Leno, of course, Maitland-Niles, Socrates, Luiz, Kolasinac. Sitting in front of them, Willock and Guendouzi.
Yeah.
Now, I have to qualify this in that I think Willock more than deserves a start, as this is, I would say, a Category C game, not just in tickets but also in stature. They are bottom of the league, and I think it's a good way for him to go up against someone like Decore.
Yeah,
and other players. They've got a decent midfield, Watford, so it'll be a good test for them. And Guendouzi, he's after his last performance, he can't drop him. But we said that about Ceballos, and we did.
Yeah,
and
unfortunately.
Because we didn't drop him, he didn't play that well. But that's by the by. So I went through Willock and Guendouzi, and I think that they played really well with each other. And in front of them, Pepe and Nelson on the alternative wings, Ceballos sitting in behind Aubameyang pulling the strings. But I do feel like Guendouzi and Ceballos can switch places. All three of our front three and our middle three, they could quite easily interchange very easily. And I do feel like we have got a very fluid tactician at the helm in Emery. In Emery. God, I nearly did a Fergus. Sorry, I was thinking about Fergus and then I fucked up a name. It's just what happens. But yeah, I think tactically we've got the talent for people to change around in our squad. And in that lineup I've just set out there, I think we could quite easily play 3 or 4 different formations.
Yeah.
Very, very easily. Right, so that's the lineups. Let's look at the opposition. Now, on our agenda that I sent out to you guys, I've prefaced this as Watford without the man we love to hate. And we all know who that is. And that's Troy Deeney. He's out with an injury for a few months. He's going to have surgery on a knee, I think. And I remember in the North Bank at the home game last year, we was all calling him a fat Stefan. And it turns out he's got a rocking 6-pack, so we've got to give him that. So we just called him a Stefan straight up, and we all still think he is. He is a lump. So they're without their talisman, their captain. I think that will weaken them a little bit in terms of drive.
I don't.
I only say that because they've lost their manager. And obviously that is another point we need to come in on, that they're not getting a totally alien manager. They've got a manager coming in who has been there before.
Say the other season, 2 seasons.
But they've had a lot of... Yeah, exactly. They've got a lot of player turnovers. They've got a lot of good players that have come in, one of which is Danny Welbeck. Danny Welbeck's obviously, he's hopped the fence over to Watford.
Quite literally, yeah.
He quite literally hopped the fence, as some people will know. At London Colney, our literal neighbour, who's on the other side of the fence, is Watford's training ground. And a lot of people will know that we often have to kick their balls back. So Danny Welbeck being back, I think he'll get a good reception from the away fans. I hope he does. He deserves it, to be honest. And he saved a bit of money in moving house, obviously.
Or not moving house.
Dan, coming to you, mate. Do you think we're going to see Danny Welbeck line up against us? Do you think he's going to get his first start in the Premier League for Watford against his old club?
Yeah, I think he will. I think there's a couple of interesting subplots here as well with a new manager coming in, and Welbeck adds to that as well. I think with no Deeney up top, yeah, and we've seen over the years strikers come back to haunt their old club. So I actually think Welbeck will start. Yeah,
All right.
give the back four a run for their money. Try and play on Louise, and yeah, try and tempt him into giving away fouls. And Watford like to get balls in the box. They're quite a physical side at times, and I think they'll be looking to draw fouls and throw plenty of men in the box.
Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, I think without Deeney, I think he will start, and they'll probably play two strikers up against Socrates, and it's probably Luis. I think they'll probably go with Gray, who is a pace man, and Welbeck will, use his physicality and lay the ball off. I mean, I don't think we've got. With no disrespect to Danny Welbeck, I don't think we've got to worry about him scoring some bangers, but he will do what Danny Welbeck does, and that's cause issues all day long for opposition centre backs.
I think you're right. I think his insight into the way we play, and obviously he was around the whole of last season. I think that's going to be invaluable. Now, going into this game, he's not going to be their only danger man. Obviously, I've spoken on the main podcast about a player we came up against in the European games, one of which I went to France to see, and that's Ismail Assar, who's been signed from Rennes. Now, he's a big money signing. He's very, very good, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Yeah, home and away against them, he was fantastic, and he'll be a threat. Do you think he'll start?
I don't know. To be honest, the only person in the list of danger men I can see starting is Delafeu. He's been electric since he signed permanently. He's definitely someone we need to keep an eye on. Pereira as well, and Decore is engine room of their whole team. And obviously they've got the ex-Spud in the middle. Was it Bentaleb? I don't know if he's still there.
Did they have
played very well last
Not,
season.
not sure. They have Will Hughes. I know they have Will Hughes floating about.
Capoue is the ex.
That's it.
That's the one. Yeah. They're all the same kind of horrible scumbags. Yeah. So they're not toothless. They have got some decent players up front, so we can't underestimate them. However, they do have a new manager. We did touch on it earlier. Yeah, everybody's saying it at the moment. It always seems like they sack their guy just before they play us because they need the boost to beat the mighty Arsenal. That's why. Right, so that's the game taken care of. We've actually got a question from our Facebook from Mark Partridge. Lacquer out. Do we do a 4-4-2? Or do we go for a 4-4-2? Or does Ozil start and hopefully earn some of his grotesque wages?
Ooh.
Or I think I'll come to you, Steve, because I think Dan's battery just died. So.
No, we do not want Ozil starting away at Watford. We've touched on the subject a few times. They're a team full of big lumps. Ozil, big lumps, don't really go together. Ozil and small lumps don't really go together. I would opt against going with a two, simply because the forwards that we have now, without Lacazette, Pepe, Aubameyang, Nelson, even if Martinelli's around, they're all very similar players. So having two similar players up against two centre halves, it's they're going to know what to do. If you've got three players, all of similar nature, all coming in between them, it's going to cause issues. So I would stick with having either, as you say, a 4-2-3-1 with the two behind Aubameyang pushing up, making it essentially a three. I would go with that, and no, leave Ozil out. If he is going to play, bring him on off the bench. Like, don't have him there.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only place he's going to be is on the bench and on the posters of the sponsors, and that's about it. I mean, it's funny, we're talking about Ozil, but not one of us mentioned him when we were talking about the likely lineups.
I think not only is that because he is the invisible man, but I even last year when he was in and out the side, I don't think up against Watford away is the sort of game to play Ozil. I don't think he suits. I mean, in terms of picking a pass with the three forwards and having them running behind, yeah, that could work. But I think you have to have, if you're playing essentially a 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, you've got to have three capable midfielders that can stand up against the physicality. You've got to have three runners. So I think Ceballos will be tested. He hasn't. I mean, he did well against Burnley actually. So yeah, I think there's a reason we didn't mention Ozil.
Yeah, because we don't need him.
Yeah,
but that's
frankly.
A discussion for another podcast. So thank you, Mr. Partridge. So to the important stuff, the Prediction League update. The convict, as everybody knows him fondly now, which is
Mad Max,
our Australian friend, Max, from the Arse Bros podcast. He is absolutely storming ahead in the league at the moment, with only a few games gone. He is, I think he's gone 10 points, which is ridiculous. He's just such a jammy bastard. Anyway, yeah, he's on 10 points. And behind him is Scunny Mike on 5. So there's a Man City to Arsenal chasm there in the league. That's first and second. And then Fergus, Manny and myself are on 4 points. Trev and yourself, Big Steve, are on 2 points.
On 2, yeah.
Potsy is on 1 point. And the Boston Ozil is on 0 points. Come on, Mike. You need to do better than that. Come on. Scunny. It's Scunny. There. Boston and Ozil. Mike from the other side of the pond. You need to do better, my son.
Yeah.
You're just lucky that you didn't get a -1 point like Fergus wanted to do for not giving me the actual predictions. Anyway, so we hope that the convict does not win any more points this weekend. Well, I can't, because I want to win.
I want to win.
We
got to win.
Yeah. So in terms of predictions, Steve, what was your prediction?
I'm saying 3-1 to us this weekend.
Oh, you did a Manny. Oh, okay.
I think everyone did a 3-1 this week.
No. Only you and Fergus did a Manny.
Did
even Manny didn't do a Manny?
Didn't Trev say 3-1 this week?
No, he said no. He didn't. No, Trev said 3-0.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
You
so
know,
Manny,
I think 3-1.
Manny didn't do a Manny. He went and did a 1-1. He's the only one that predicted a draw. Myself, Scunny Mike, and Potsy all said 2-1 to the Arsenal. I think that personally, obviously, that's what I picked. I think it's going to be about like that. It's going to be close. And I think they've just got a bit of firepower that we might slip one in at the end. Consolation goal. So that's it. That is our prediction league done. That is our preview show done for the week. I just want to say thank you for listening. Remember to like and share us on all of the platforms. We're on Spotify, Acast, Apple Podcasts, and now on YouTube. So if you aren't already aware, we'll be uploading all of our podcasts onto YouTube now, so you can have that conveniently on all of your smart devices. So remember, this is the Guns and Yellow Ribbons for Arsenal fans, by Arsenal fans. I love you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jonny. Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Dan. That has been the match preview show for the Watford versus Arsenal game. The main show will be on YouTube. We will be on YouTube and also on Facebook. So if you like what we do, follow us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook. Our video weekly podcast will go out on there. Really do appreciate you following us and listening to what we do. Thanks very much. Remember, this is an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. I do hope you've enjoyed the show. Thanks very much. Good night.
Thanks for listening to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Follow us on Facebook at Guns and Yellow Ribbons or Twitter at Guns and Ribbons, and remember to rate and review us too.